G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/legal advice video. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to personally tackle that like button, just like Crocodile Dundee tackles bloody crocodiles. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good legal advice. Now our first post is by user BuzzLaxia, titled, Restaurant owners took 24% of my tip last night. I live in Maryland. I wait tables for $3.63 an hour plus tips. Last night, I was handed an invoice for a party I was working, and at the very bottom, written in pen, the owner's wife/co-owner wrote, tips multiplied by 0.78 equals tips for server. That's 22% of my gratuity. On top of that, they've been taking 2% of our gratuity every night to help pay for the credit debit card transactions. The fact that the owners are taking our tip money because they need spending money infuriates me, especially considering we already shared 25% with the support service staff. Duty34 says, restaurant owners are legally allowed to pass along the up to 2% fee the credit companies charge them using the service. It's a fairly common practice. I can't speak on the other 22% though. Edit, do you tip out the support staff separately? Was the 22% used for that purpose? I tip them out separately, 20% to the busser/server assistant and 5% to the bartender. No support staff saw any of the 22% that they took. That's 22% of my gratuity. That's around the right percentages for tax. Are they taking these and paying taxes with them? That's perfectly legitimate. What? Our income tax? Nope. We pay all of that and then owe some at the end of each year. We don't get paychecks, just a pay stub and a slip saying how much we owe in tax every 2 weeks. You'll need to ask them why they removed the 24% then. It's possible that it's legal, possible that it's not, but you need to know why there. I'm planning to talk to them in a couple of hours and ask. Sorry to jump in, are they possibly tipping out the rest of the staff with the money? I have worked places that would do 20% to bus, host, and cooks. Granted, it was a fine dining place, but that is legal, so long as it's actually hitting their checks. Also, either way, if money is tight with both jobs, talk to your other gig about commitment on a full-time basis, and I bet you will make the same thing, because screw crappy serving jobs. $20 an hour average or walk away. No. Nobody else has seen any of the money. The only tipped employees are servers, bartenders, and server assistants. Bartenders and SAs are tipped out by the server themselves. I've never had any percentage of my tip taken from me like this before. I've been here for 5 years. Since the general manager of 16 years left a few months ago, a general manager that all of us trusted and respected, we no longer have anyone to stand up for us. And now the owners are doing this. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. My plan is now to confront one of the owners about it and make sure to record what's said. Updates to come later. Edit 2. To all those concerned, I actually started work at another job 3 months ago in anticipation of this restaurant going out of business, or me having to quit. Haven't pulled the trigger yet because even with both jobs, money is tight. Being trained to bartend at the new place, and from the looks of it, once I'm done with training, the money from that will sustain me enough that I can quit the restaurant in question. I appreciate your concern. You all have been incredibly helpful. And now, update. Restaurant owners took 22% of my tip last night. So I called the labor board today. Turns out it was all legal. The gratuity was an included and required charge. In Maryland, they're allowed to take as much of it as they want in this case, as long as I still make minimum wage, hourly plus tip, which I did. I guess I'll be jumping ship soon anyways. The place is falling apart and the owners can't figure anything out. If any employee in any department left right now, it would be disastrous for the restaurant. I already know that at least 2 other vital employees are planning to quit pretty soon as well, because of how undervalued they are. The owners have zero grasp of the concept of morale and how it affects your business and the loyalty of your employees. I'll be happy to leave this place behind me and watch it crumble shortly thereafter. The new place I started at a few months ago has been a completely different experience for me. I feel overwhelmingly valued, management is committed to supporting their staff, and the business is off the charts. I'm doing well. Thanks all for the support. Alright, and our next post is by user Sammy Supreme, titled, "My old babysitters won't leave me and my child alone. Please forgive me if this doesn't make any sense. I'm kind of enraged at the moment, so my mind is all over the place. My son's old babysitters, who were friends at the time and were trusted, had guardianship over him in case of medical emergencies while he was in their care while I worked. I stopped working 2 years ago, almost 3, and told them I would no longer need them to watch my child since we were planning to move to a different state anyway, and I ended their guardianship after they tried to keep my son from me and told him he could live with them forever and that I never wanted or loved him like they do. Since stopping their guardianship, they followed us around grocery stores, come up and stops us in stores and tries to force my child to come to them, and when he doesn't, they'll cry and make a scene. Messaged me consistently about when they could have him, kept, and continues posting about how much they miss my child, ask my family members, mainly my sister, if they can see him or how he's doing, or if my family can send them pictures of my son. Even asking them numerous times to stop and just leave us alone, they still continue to do these things. It's getting to the point where I have to avoid certain parts of the county that we live in just to stay away from them. If they see that I'm tagged somewhere on Facebook by a friend, they'll show up, even if it's 30+ minutes away. So my question is, what can I do at this point? I'm pretty sure this falls under harassment considering I've asked them to stop trying to contact me or my child, but I'm still not 100% sure on what exactly to do. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Located in Maryland. ETA, my son is currently in the process of going to therapy because he's scared that they're going to try to take him away again. There was one point in time that they took him out of the county for a week and wouldn't let me get my child. Since they had guardianship, they told me they were allowed to take him without my consent, and there was nothing I could do about it. When I finally got him back after a week was over, I cut contact and went and filed to end their guardianship. You should look into filing a restraining order, get a consultation and an attorney. Thank you. Is there a specific type of attorney I should look into, or just go to my local district court and ask them? I think they do free legal advice on certain days of the month, but I think they're mainly for child support/custody situations. If you can find a local victims advocate group. In Oregon, I think they're paid by the state or a non-profit. They will have the most information and they can help you get things done quick and help you know all of the options. Thank you for your reply. I'll look into that as well, hoping I can find something like that where I live. I could be wrong, but family court lawyers are familiar with the process. Maybe call one and ask if they handle restraining orders for non-related people. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your reply. I'll be calling first thing Monday morning. Good luck to you. This sounds really aggravating for you and confusing for your child. It is. My child is currently in the process of getting set up with a therapist because he's afraid they're going to take him again. And Victoria American says, explain this guardianship please. Did you give them possession of your child for a period of time, or do you mean you just allowed them to seek treatment for him if something happened while they were babysitting? I'm trying to wrap my head around why they think they're able to show up wherever you go, and make implications that they want to take him. Seems there's more to this than is being written. Otherwise, yeah, get a restraining order. I allowed them to seek treatment for him if something happened while they were babysitting. They were notified that they no longer had guardianship, and were given the option to petition it, which they didn't. There's nothing else but what's written. They had become obsessed with my child. When they had him in their care and they were out in public, they would tell everyone that they adopted him. Trust me, I know all of this sounds crazy, which is why I'm so frustrated about all of this. Then this is bordering on criminal harassment, and I'm disturbed that the police don't think that there is a danger of these people kidnapping your child. Somehow along the line, they got the idea, or you gave them the idea, that they were more than just family friends, and they somehow had a right to your kid. You need to return to the police and insist that they take a report on it. I'd also find a lawyer and see if they won't draft a cease and desist. If telling them to leave you alone isn't enough, maybe an official correspondence on a law firm's letterhead might give them cause to think you're serious. When you try to access the police, keep in mind that the 911 operator can function as a gatekeeper. What's your emergency? Is something on fire? Do you need an ambulance? Scrape a body off the road? Etc. There's a big risk the 911 operator will interpret this as, I keep running into people I don't like. Please call the non-emergency line. See if you can make an appointment, print up some talking points, bring in this whole thread if you want, bring a copy of the law, which is found here, the statute.web.pdf. If the police won't meet with you, you can seek access to your local prosecutor's office. A lot of prosecutor officials have special domestic violence divisions that deal with crimes like stalking that occur around child custody issues. You could also see if there's a legal aid clinic that might take your case to help you out. And OP says to the last comment, "Thank you for your reply. Unfortunately, the county I live in, the cops aren't the best. They are more into busting drug dealers and not harassment issues. I don't think I ever gave them the impression that they were more than family friends and had the rights to my kid. But since someone is accusing that there's more to this story, I don't know any more. I just know that I haven't been in contact with them, besides them finding me in public and me asking them to leave them alone for almost 3 years now. And they still continue to bother me about my child, even after cutting ties with them personally and legally, which was ending the guardianship. In my opinion, you should double down. Don't use words like former guardian, use words like potential kidnapper, and then start going up the chain of command. If the chief of police won't do anything, the sheriff and mayor will care, as their political careers depend on this kind of stuff not happening. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't even think to use terms like that. I really appreciate this." And yeah, there's genuinely so many more amazing comments here, but I know you guys don't like that many comments, and I'll just get into the update now. Update: my old babysitters won't leave me and my child alone. So it's been a while now, but I really wanted to make an update since a lot of people on the original post were concerned. Also, sorry for the crappy format. I usually just comment on posts and don't post a lot, so I'm clueless. Anyway, so I had contacted a lawyer about the potential kidnappers, because that's what they are, not really babysitters. And I found out they lied to me for a year or two about having guardianship of my son. This was explained in the original post, but a brief rundown about it was that they requested guardianship to be able to take him to the hospital for treatment if anything happened in their care. Being young and dumb, I agreed. Apparently, the courts never pushed it through though, because they didn't contact my son's biological father after being told they needed to do that. I didn't know any of this until about a month ago after the lawyer had dug up a bunch of stuff. They lied about having guardianship and held it over my head in order for me to not come pick my son up from their care, and so they could take him out of the county/state without my consent. Anyway, they're currently going through court for potentially trying to kidnap someone else's kid after being paid to watch the second child. Apparently, they filed for emergency custody of the second child after not allowing the mother to come pick up their child. Since it's an ongoing case, I can't give too many details about it, but I'm being called in as a witness for their obsessive behavior and manipulation tactics. They are no longer allowed to contact me, my child, or any of my family members about myself and my child. Jesus, what happened there? Alright, and our next post is by Callior, titled, Seattle, WA. Mentally disabled neighbor has twice followed us to our front door and attempted to enter. What are our options? So on Saturday, as me, husband, 1-year-old daughter, were walking home from an event at the local elementary school, we noticed a man walking back and forth in the middle of an intersection. He saw us and changed direction to follow us. He followed us to our front door and attempted to open the door for several minutes while we called 911. The dispatcher told me a man matching that description had been reporting missing from a home for the mentally disabled on the next street over. I requested an officer come to speak with us, but they never did. I had to call our local police department back to even find out what was going on. On Monday evening, we were playing with our daughter in the front yard and driveway when I noticed the same man shuffling down our street alone again. He heard us in the yard, turned and crossed the street towards our house, and again he went to our front door and attempted to open the door and look into our window. As soon as I saw him turn and head towards our driveway, we grabbed our daughter, told him to leave, and ran inside to call 911. Again, I requested an officer to stop by, but 2 hours later we hadn't had any contact with an officer. I called the department again and was told he was taken back to his home and that our only option was to lock the doors and keep calling 911 when this happens. I've spoken with our neighbours across the street, directly behind the man's house, and they said he moved in about 2 to 3 months ago, and they've never seen him without an aide. When the police gave me his address, I walked over to talk with his aide. The aide refused to give me any information about the agency he works for, and denied that the man was ever alone that night. When I mentioned that our Ring doorbell had recorded both incidents, he got extremely defensive and closed the door in my face. We don't know anything about this man, or what he is capable of, except that he is mentally disabled in some capacity. This has now been twice in 3 days, and we are afraid to spend time outside, especially me home alone with a little one all day. What are our options here? Is our only option really to just keep calling 911 every time this happens? What if he manages to get into our home? Both incidents have been terrifying, and we are so lost on what we can do about this. Thank you. Call Adult Protective Services and tell them what has happened, especially that your camera footage shows the person alone and not with an aide. This is serious crap all around if this guy is not being properly supervised, and Adult Protective Services will very much investigate and ensure the situation is corrected. Make sure to mention that the aide denied leaving him unsupervised. That could cause him or her license issues. He absolutely denied that the man was ever alone. Once I said I had video evidence that clearly showed him alone, he became very nervous and defensive, claiming the man escapes while he uses the bathroom and that he cannot legally lock the front door because it is a violation of the handicapped man's rights. The second part is true, unless his care plan includes an exception that's hard to get approval for. If he needs line of sight supervision at all times though, then they're going to have to step up his level of support. From experience, people in these agencies have less than stellar training and are paid abysmally, but are constantly reminded that any slip-up could get them in serious trouble for dependent abuse. I'm definitely not excusing or justifying this guy's errors, but I understand why he would be defensive and nervous. Also, between not being able to lock the doors and having really strict guidelines around when restraints can be used, plus sometimes understaffed houses where the clients may be stronger than you, it can be a really tough situation all around. Contact Adult Protective Services in your area and let them know a disabled and possibly defenseless adult has been wandering around unsupervised. They will likely go investigate, and the home aide can't say no to them. If he tries to get into your home again, call 911. Do not take no for an answer from the dispatcher. You may have to do this every time, but sooner or later, those 911 calls will force someone to take action. This may be a situation where adjusting the wording OP uses to describe the incident makes a difference. That the man is perceived as disabled and defenseless might be working against OP in the terms of police response. If OP is politely explaining that a mentally disabled man wandering around the neighborhood is trying to unsuccessfully open her locked front door, that doesn't necessarily sound like an emergency or a high priority call in terms of OP's safety. When making the 911 call, his disability should not come into it. OP doesn't know what his diagnosis is and can't reasonably be expected to speculate about his intentions or his capacity to cause harm. All OP knows is that she's home alone with a baby and an adult male trespasser is trying to force his way into her home, which makes her feel unsafe. This is what she should report when calling 911. Adult male trespasser is attempting to break into the house. Please send help. Here's what happened on Saturday. We obviously didn't know he was disabled at the time, so I simply reported a strange man following my family home and is attempting to get into our house. The dispatcher asked what I meant by attempting to enter, and I said he was trying to open the door, peeking into windows and trying to open the windows. He asked for a description: white male, 60s, wearing black and white Adidas tracksuit. And while I was talking, he cut me off to say a man matching that description had been reported missing earlier by the group home he lives in. When it happened again yesterday, I again just said that a man followed us home and tried to enter on Saturday, and that the same man was trying to enter again. I didn't mention him being mentally disabled. I guess when the call went to our local PD, they could see the incident from Saturday. When I finally got through to speak with the responding officer, he told me that the man was severely mentally disabled, and that all he could do was ask me to lock my doors and call 911 if it happened again. So you called 911 twice to report someone trying to break into your house and nothing happened? First, go down to the police station and file 2 reports, one for each incident. They may give you some BS about waiting too long, but be insistent. You could file a report saying Jesus Christ turned all the water in your swimming pool into wine, and they would have to take it. You want to start a paper trail on this immediately, as the lack of action on this by the authorities indicates it may become a chronic problem. Second, go to your local elected representatives and raise hell. The 911 dispatcher was in no position to determine that the guy trying to break into your house was really some harmless mental patient. He could have been some sort of mental break and thought you were demons sent to torment him. It could have been a completely different person, a burglar, abuser, murderer, etc. Could have just happened to be dressed similarly to that guy. If I were you, I would look into getting a hold of those 911 tapes using your state's version of FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. It sounds like you're already in contact with Adult Protective Services, so you're covered there. Depending on how concerned you are for your safety and the safety of your kid, have a talk with your significant other and make a plan of what to do if the guy makes it into your house. That could involve setting up a safe room, acquiring a firearm, etc. Also consider preventative measures such as security film for the windows, and keep the footage from your security cameras. Alright, now we have Update Seattle WA. Mentally disabled neighbor has twice followed us to our front door and attempted to enter. What are our options? Thank you all so much for your help and suggestions. First, a few things to clear up. We are not trigger-happy people looking to kill our neighbors, contrary to what a few comments and nasty PMs said. My husband has a handgun because he enjoys going shooting and for protection. I am not thrilled, but as long as he is safe about it, it's not worth fighting over. We did not know that the man was mentally disabled until after the first incident. I feel our fear was justified given that a strange man followed us and our toddler home and then tried to open our door and window. I actually have quite a bit of compassion for the elderly and the disabled. I went to the house to speak with the caretaker to figure out how we could all keep this from happening again. I understand his hesitancy to give me any information, but I was trying to help the man rather than get the caretaker fired or have his license taken. On to the update. After posting here, I followed the top suggestion to contact Adult Protective Services and filed a report. After filing the report, APS also referred me to the Complaint Resolution Unit, which deals directly with caretakers and aides under investigation. Because this had happened twice in 3 days, APS moved fast to visit the home and get in contact with the agency running the group home. Note, they kept calling it a group home, but as far as I can tell, the man who followed us is the only resident there. The agency was very apologetic and horrified that these escapes had led to police contact twice. I was told alarms had been installed on all exterior doors, so staff is alerted when he tries to escape. They will be bringing in additional staff as well, to ensure that this man has 2 aides assigned to him at all times. The APS investigator let me know that the man is nonverbal and only understands very simple instructions, so simply asking him to leave our property wouldn't work. She mentioned that he hates being alone and probably latched onto our family because we looked safe. Apparently he also loves dogs, and she thinks that's what caused him to come over the second time. We were in our front yard with our dog. Moving forward, I will be trying to arrange a meeting with the agency to come up with a plan in case this happens again. I'd rather not involve the police if I don't have to, so hopefully they will give me a number to call if he appears at our house again. Ultimately, I'm very glad that this man will be getting the care he deserves and needs. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of r/LegalAdvice. Tell me what you thought of these posts down in the comments below. I would bloody love to hear your advice. and whatever you have to say about it. This has been Markee. I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and just have a bloody good quarantine, guys. I hope you're staying safe out there. I'll see you later. Bye.